The glass gardens on the planet Cerealia were famous across many stars. Visitors loved walking through the long, shining walkways and watching the many gentle life forms that lived inside the crystal-like habitats. The domes looked like huge bubbles from far away, each one filled with tall, soft plants, curved stone paths, and bright lights that made the place glow like a dreamland. Families from many worlds entered the glass gardens every day to see creatures they had never seen before. Inside one of the largest domes lived a young Cereal hatchling named Kiri. The Cereal were a peaceful species who looked a little like feathered dragons, but smaller and kind-eyed. Even their scales were soft, glowing in shades of blue and gold. Kiri was the smallest hatchling in the group, and because of this, Kiri often stayed alone near the warm crystal pool in the center of the dome. The other hatchlings ran together, played chasing games, and jumped across floating platforms that shifted in the air like gentle waves. Kiri watched them every morning. The other hatchlings were not unkind, but they liked fast games. They moved quickly, hopped around, and made loud playful chirps that filled the dome. Kiri, however, liked quiet things. Kiri liked drawing shapes in the soft soil, listening to the tiny water streams that flowed through the garden, and watching the gentle movement of floating flowers. Kiri's steps were slower, and Kiri's voice was softer. Because of this, the other hatchlings simply forgot to invite Kiri into their games. On this bright morning, Kiri sat near the crystal pool again. The water reflected the dome's colors, making everything look like a rainbow. Kiri dipped one small claw into the soil and began tapping a soft rhythm. Tap, tap. Pause. Tap. It was a small song Kiri had made for comfort. The sound echoed lightly in the peaceful space, but no one came to join. From far above, on the observation deck made of clear glass, a human family walked slowly, enjoying the view. Humans visited the glass gardens often, for they found the place calming and beautiful. Among the family was a small human boy named Evan. Evan was curious by nature. His bright eyes moved everywhere, trying to take in every detail. He pressed his hands on the railing and leaned forward to watch the Cereal hatchlings below. Evan noticed the group of hatchlings chasing each other playfully, but his attention did not stay with them. His eyes moved, and soon spotted Kiri sitting alone by the pool. Something about the lonely hatchling pulled his heart. Kiri looked peaceful, but also a little sad, as if waiting for someone who would never come. Evan tugged at his mother's sleeve. "Mom, why is that one sitting alone?" he asked softly. His mother followed his gaze. She smiled in a gentle way. "Maybe that little one likes quiet games," she said. "Not everyone likes big, noisy play, but no one is playing with them," Evan replied, his voice full of concern. Evan had always been the kind of child who noticed when someone felt left out. Whether it was an animal, another child, or even a creature in a faraway dome, Evan's heart always reached out first. As they continued walking along the deck, Evan kept turning back to look at Kiri. The hatchling was now tapping shapes in the soil. Small circles, tiny stars, and long curved lines. Evan thought they looked like drawings from a storybook. When the tour guide announced that they were moving closer to the lower observation area, Evan felt excitement rise inside him. The lower area brought visitors very close to the habitat barrier, a smooth crystal wall that separated the creatures from the guests, but still allowed them to see each other clearly. Evan hurried down the steps. As soon as he reached the clear wall, he pressed both hands against it and searched for Kiri. The young hatchling was still alone, gently tapping in the soil. Evan watched Kiri for a moment. He felt a strong wish to make the little creature smile, even if only a little. Kiri felt a faint shift in the light. The hatchling lifted its head. Its golden eyes blinked when it saw the small human boy staring with great interest. Kiri tilted its head in surprise. It was rare for visitors to watch only Kiri. Most guests always watched the big group that played loudly across the dome. Kiri felt a warm feeling spark inside its small chest, a feeling it did not know well. Evan, encouraged by the eye contact, gave a gentle wave. Kiri blinked again and made a tiny chirp soft enough to be polite, not loud enough to startle. Evan smiled widely. Then, without thinking too much, Evan lifted his hand and tapped lightly on the crystal wall. Tap, tap, tap. Kiri's ear frills lifted. That rhythm. It was very close to the one Kiri always tapped in the soil. Kiri stepped closer. Curious. The little hatchling reached the clear wall and gently touched it with one claw. Then Kiri repeated the pattern. Tap, tap, tap. Evan gasped softly in delight. They copied me, he whispered excitedly. His mother, standing behind him, smiled again. It seems they like your rhythm, she said. Evan tapped again, this time adding one more beat. Tap, 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 tap. Kiri chirped a little louder, still gentle, but with clear joy. The hatchling repeated the new rhythm with surprising accuracy. Evan tried another. And another. Kiri copied every single one, sometimes adding its own tiny twist that made Evan giggle. Visitors around them began to notice. Some paused and watched the unexpected interaction. The Sorel caretakers, who stood near the dome controls, exchanged amazed glances. It was unusual for a hatchling, especially one as shy as Kiri, to respond so quickly to a guest. One caretaker, a tall Sorel adult named Scifi, approached the viewing area quietly. Their soft blue feathers shimmered as they walked. Scifi had known Kiri since the day the hatchling came into their care. They also knew how lonely Kiri had been. Scifi placed a gentle hand on the glass and studied the human boy. The child looked kind, patient, and happy to communicate through simple patterns. Scifi nodded to themselves. Humans often had this special energy, an ability to reach out, to connect, even when two beings came from very different worlds. Evan continued tapping, enjoying every moment. Kiri stayed pressed close to the crystal wall, watching the boy with shining eyes. For the first time in a long while, Kiri did not feel small, did not feel slow, did not feel left behind. Kiri felt seen. Evan did not know it yet, but he had already changed something important inside the little hatchling's heart. After a while, the tour guide called the visitors to move to the next dome. Evan's mother touched his shoulder lightly. Time to go, sweetheart, she said. Evan looked up sadly. Can I say bye to them? He asked. His mother nodded. Evan pressed his palm to the clear wall. Bye, little one. I'll come again, he whispered. Kiri placed its small claw on the same spot from the other side, matching Evan's gesture. The hatchling gave a tiny chirp that sounded like a promise. As Evan walked away, he kept turning back, waving every few steps. Kiri stayed by the wall, watching the boy until he disappeared behind the walkway. When the dome grew quiet again, Kiri looked down at the soil. For the first time in many days, Kiri felt excited. The little hatchling tapped the same rhythm Evan had made. The soil vibrated softly with each beat. Kiri did not feel lonely anymore. Something warm had taken that space. A new feeling. A hopeful one. Across the dome, the other hatchlings ran around, still playing fast games. But Kiri did not mind. Kiri knew someone out there liked gentle rhythms and quiet moments, someone who noticed the small things, someone who saw Kiri. Evan. The Sorel elders watched from the shadows of the dome, their kind eyes shining with interest. They whispered quietly among themselves. Humans always bring something new. One elder said, something simple. Another added, something bright. A third finished with a soft smile. Kiri looked up at the sky-like ceiling of the dome. The warm lights twinkled gently. The little hatchling felt a new hope rise inside. Tomorrow, maybe the human boy would return. Maybe they could make a new rhythm together. Maybe, just maybe, Kiri's quiet world was about to change. Kiri curled near the crystal pool, tapping one last gentle pattern before resting. Tap, 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 tap. A rhythm that now carried a memory of a small human boy with bright eyes and a caring heart. The next morning, gentle light washed over the glass gardens. The domes glowed softly as if welcoming another peaceful day. Inside the Sorel hatchling dome, Kiri stretched its small wings and blinked awake. The warm crystal pool shimmered nearby, sending tiny sparkles across the ground. Kiri felt different today. Not the usual quiet sadness. not the feeling of being left behind. Instead, there was a soft excitement fluttering inside its chest. Kiri remembered the human child from the day before, the boy named Evan. His gentle smile, his patient tapping rhythms, his simple kindness. Would he return today? Kiri walked slowly to the clear wall where they had met. The hatchling placed a claw on the smooth crystal. It still held the warmth of yesterday's moment. Kiri chirped softly, as if calling out through memory, but the visitor walkway was empty. Kiri waited. Across the dome, the other hatchlings gathered for their usual morning activity. They hopped between floating platforms, chased drifting leaves, and made cheerful chirps. A few glanced toward Kiri, but quickly returned to their fast games. Kiri did not mind. The little hatchling had something else to look forward to now. Minutes passed. Then footsteps echoed on the walkway above. Kiri's ears perked up instantly. On the observation deck, groups of families arrived. They leaned over the clear railing, pointing out different creatures. Kiri scanned their faces eagerly. Tall visitors, short visitors, ones with glowing accessories, ones holding small travel bags. It looked like a colorful parade of beings from many worlds, but no sign of the small human boy. Kiri lowered its head a little but kept watching. Maybe he was just behind the others. More visitors appeared, filling the deck. The hatchlings took notice and began to play louder, trying to get attention. The sorrel often enjoyed showing their glowing feathers when visitors came, hoping for friendly admiration. Still no Evan. Kiri's heart sank softly. Perhaps he would not come today. Perhaps humans visited only once in a while. Kiri turned around slowly, ready to walk back to the warm crystal pool. Then, a small hand pressed against the clear wall. Kiri froze. There he was. Evan. The boy looked excited, as if he had been searching for Kiri too. His face lit up the moment he caught sight of the little hatchling. He quickly tapped the glass with a familiar pattern. Tap, 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 tap. Kiri's wings fluttered with joy. The hatchling ran forward, pressing its claws gently to the same spot through the barrier. Then, it copied the rhythm perfectly. Evan laughed softly, unable to hide his happiness. Behind him, his parents smiled warmly. His mother whispered, "Look, Kiri remembered you." Visitors nearby paused to watch the sweet moment between child and creature. Even the tour guide slowed down, letting the interaction continue. Evan raised his hand again and tapped another simple rhythm, this one slightly longer. Kiri listened carefully, then chirped quietly before repeating each beat. Evan clapped lightly in excitement. The Seral caretaker, Scifi, noticed the interaction from across the dome. Their feathers shimmered faintly as they approached the interior control panel. Scifi had always believed that gentle communication could create special bonds. Seeing Kiri so alive with energy warmed their heart. Scifi turned to the other caretakers. "The hatchling responds very well to the human child," they said. Another caretaker nodded. "It seems the boy understands Kiri's calm style. If this continues," Scifi added thoughtfully, "we may consider arranging a supervised play enclosure." The others looked surprised. Such access was rare. Only when a creature responded peacefully and naturally to a visitor would caretakers consider closer interaction. But Kiri and Evan seemed to have created that connection in only a day. Meanwhile, Evan sat on the floor near the clear wall. He reached into his small backpack and took out a colorful round toy. It lit up with gentle patterns when tapped. Evan pressed it against the crystal wall and tapped it twice. The toy glowed in response. Kiri stared in awe at the lights. Evan laughed and shook the toy gently. He made it roll across the floor on his side of the barrier. Kiri followed the rolling light with curious excitement, chirping softly whenever the colors changed. Then Evan placed the toy directly against the wall again and tapped a small rhythm on it. Kiri copied the rhythm by tapping the glass from inside the dome. The toy flickered brighter as if praising both of them. Evan's eyes sparkled. For the first time in Kiri's young life, the hatchling felt truly included in a game. Not too fast. Not too loud. Just right. The other hatchlings approached curiously. They saw the glowing toy, the tapping game, and the way Kiri chirped excitedly. Some tried to copy, but their movements were quick and impatient. The toy glowed only when rhythms were steady and gentle, so it stayed dim for them. After a moment, the other hatchlings lost interest and returned to chasing floating leaves. But Kiri did not mind. Kiri's game was different, quiet, simple, beautiful. Evan invented new rhythms. Each time Kiri copied them, the toy pulsed with warm colors. It was like watching a tiny rainbow reflect across the clear barrier. "See?" Evan said to his mother. "They understand everything." His mother nodded. "You two communicate well. You're very patient." Down in the dome, Kiri lifted its wings slightly. The hatchling felt proud. It felt capable. It felt happy. Scifi stepped closer to the glass walkway and called to Evan's parents politely. "Your child has a gentle touch," Scifi said in a friendly tone. The hatchling responds to him with great comfort. Evan's father smiled. "Evan is always like this with animals. He enjoys learning how they feel." Scifi nodded thoughtfully. "If you are willing, we would like to observe a little longer. Perhaps this connection can be part of our study on interspecies communication." Evan blinked up at them. "Does that mean I can keep playing with Kiri?" Scifi smiled warmly. "Yes, little one. You may continue for now." Evan returned to tapping the rhythms with renewed joy. Kiri stood as close as possible, chirping and matching every beat. The hatchling no longer looked shy or uncertain. Instead, Kiri moved with confidence, as if discovering a new part of itself. After a long while, the tour group moved on to the next section of the gardens. Most visitors left the viewing area, but Evan stayed. His parents had asked for extra time, and the caretakers agreed. Evan placed both hands on the clear wall again, his expression gentle. "Kiri," he whispered, "I wish I could play with you without the wall." Kiri chirped softly, placing its claws on the same spot. The boy and the hatchling stayed like that for a long moment, quiet, still, connected. Scifi watched this from a distance. They exchanged looks with the other caretakers. A silent understanding passed between them. Something special was growing, something that did not need words. Scifi stepped to the controls again. "Prepare the small interaction enclosure," they said softly. "We may allow a short, supervised visit tomorrow. If the human boy returns, we must speak with his parents." The caretakers agreed. Meanwhile, Evan continued his gentle play. He taught Kiri how to tap little patterns, then traced shapes on the glass squares, circles, stars. Kiri followed each movement with keen interest, drawing matching shapes in the soil on its side. Soon the dome's lights shifted to a soft evening glow. Evan's mother knelt beside him. "Evan," she whispered, "it's getting late. We should let Kiri rest now." Evan nodded sadly but understood. He turned back to Kiri. "I'll come again tomorrow," he promised softly. Kiri chirped a warm, hopeful sound. The boy lifted his hand slowly, waving goodbye. Kiri matched the gesture with its small wing. As Evan walked toward the exit, he kept turning back just like the day before, each time waving again. Kiri stayed pressed to the clear wall until the boy finally disappeared from sight. Then the quiet dome grew calm. Kiri looked at the soil and tapped one of the new rhythms Evan had taught. The sound echoed lightly, warm, and comforting. The hatchling curled near the crystal pool again, but this time it felt no loneliness. It felt full of new memories, new hope, and the promise of tomorrow. The Sorel elders watched with deep curiosity. "Humans," one murmured, "always find a way to create harmony. Even in the quiet ones," another added. "Yes," said a third elder with a gentle smile. "Especially in the quiet ones." Kiri closed its eyes, listening to the gentle sound of water. The little hatchling knew something wonderful was coming. Tomorrow might be even brighter. The next day arrived quietly, with soft golden light spreading across the glass gardens. The domes shimmered like giant bubbles as morning visitors began to gather. Caretakers prepared the habitats, checked temperature levels, and ensured each creature had a peaceful start to the day. Inside the Sorel hatchling dome, Kiri woke with a light flutter in its chest. The hatchling's small wings stretched, catching a warm glow from the crystal pool. Kiri blinked sleepily, then suddenly remembered the promise from yesterday. The human boy might return. The thought made Kiri chirp softly in excitement. The little hatchling hurried to the clear wall where Evan always appeared. Kiri stood there with bright eyes, waiting as footsteps echoed faintly from the walkways above. Visitors began to arrive one by one. Families, groups of friends, and curious travelers leaned over the railings. Some admired the tall plants. Others pointed at the playful hatchlings running across the floating platforms. Kiri looked carefully at every face. Was Evan among them? At first, Kiri saw only strangers. Some visitors smiled kindly at the hatchling through the barrier. But Kiri stayed quiet, still waiting for the one face that truly mattered. Minutes passed. Then a familiar small figure appeared at the edge of the walkway. Evan, his eyes lit up instantly. "There you are, Kiri," he said happily, hurrying toward the clear wall. Kiri chirped loudly, still gentle, but filled with joy, and rushed forward to meet him. Their claws and hands pressed against the same spot on the barrier as if they had been waiting for this single moment. Evan's mother and father followed behind him with warm smiles. They had seen how much their son loved these visits, and today they sensed something special would happen. "Good morning, little one," Evan said softly, tapping the glass in a familiar pattern. Kiri copied the taps perfectly, adding a tiny extra beat at the end. Evan giggled. "You remembered the bonus beat!" Visitors nearby noticed the interaction and gathered around, whispering with delight. Some recorded, others simply admired the sweet friendship forming between a human child and a sorrel hatchling. The sorrel caretakers watched as well, especially Scifi. The caretaker approached the group quietly, observing Kiri's posture. The hatchling looked confident, bright, and eager, very different from the shy creature they knew just a short while ago. "This bond is growing stronger," Scifi said to a fellow caretaker. "The rhythm games are helping both of them express themselves." "I agree," the other caretaker replied. Kiri seems happier than ever. Down near the clear wall, Evan pulled his colorful light-up toy from his backpack again. "Ready?" he asked Kiri. Kiri chirped and tapped the crystal lightly. Evan placed the glowing toy against the glass and tapped a slow pattern. The toy glowed pale blue. Kiri repeated it perfectly. The toy flashed green, as if celebrating their teamwork. Then Evan made a faster pattern. Kiri tried, chirped excitedly, and copied again. The toy warmed to a gentle gold color this time, lighting their faces faintly. Other visitors gasped softly. "It's like they're talking," one whispered. "It's beautiful," another added. Evan's parents exchanged a proud glance. Their son had a gift. He understood gentle creatures with a natural kindness. Kiri hopped in place, clearly excited for more. Evan made another tapping sequence, this one mixed with pauses. Kiri listened closely, then imitated with surprising accuracy. The toy glowed bright rainbow colors. Evan clapped in delight. "You're amazing, Kiri." Kiri puffed its small chest proudly, feeling appreciated and understood. The hatchling's eyes shone with happiness. Nearby, the other sorrel hatchlings finally noticed the glowing lights. They approached curiously but stayed at a distance. Some tapped the ground, trying to copy, but the toy reacted only to rhythm matched through the clear wall. Because their taps were quick and scattered, the toy stayed dim for them. A few hatchlings shrugged and returned to their noisy games. But Kiri stayed focused on Evan, feeling connected in a way it had never experienced before. Evan decided to try something new. He placed his hands flat on the glass and traced a simple shape. First a circle, then a triangle, then a small spiral. Kiri watched carefully, then traced the same shapes in the soil on its side of the barrier. Visitors murmured softly in admiration. "They understand each other so well," someone said. "It's like watching two artists," another added. For Kiri, these simple shapes were more than drawings. They were a way to share thoughts, to communicate feelings. No fast-chasing games, no loud chirping, just quiet patterns that made sense to the little hatchling's heart. Scifi stepped forward and spoke to Evan's parents. "Your child has created something very gentle with our young Kiri. We would like to ask your permission to allow a special play session later today. Evan gasped loudly. Really? Scifi smiled warmly. Yes. We have a small interaction enclosure. It is safe and designed for calm communication. Only very peaceful creatures may enter. Kiri is still young. But we believe your presence may help the hatchling grow even stronger in confidence. Evan looked at his parents with hope glowing in his eyes. His father smiled. I think it would be a wonderful experience. His mother nodded. We will stay close and follow all the rules. Scifi thanked them gently and signaled the caretakers to begin preparing the enclosure. The special room was located near a side door of the dome. It allowed visitors to sit inside a safe, smaller space, while one gentle creature was guided in from the habitat. But before the play session could happen, Scifi wanted to observe a little more. Meanwhile, Evan continued to invent new games. This time, he made a slow rising rhythm. Tap, 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 tap. Kiri copied it perfectly after only one try. Then Kiri created its own pattern, short, soft, long. Evan listened carefully, then tapped it back. The toy glowed brighter than ever. Kiri chirped in thrill, fluttering its wings so fast that soft light scattered across its feathers. The other visitors cheered quietly, clapping gently so they wouldn't startle the little hatchling. Evan's face was glowing with joy. Kiri, you're so smart, he whispered. Kiri pressed its small forehead gently to the glass barrier. Evan responded by placing his hand where Kiri rested. For a few long moments, they stayed like that, connected through simple emotion. The other hatchlings peeked again, curious about why Kiri wasn't joining their games. Some tried to call Kiri over, but Kiri simply chirped politely and stayed by the clear wall. The hatchling did not feel left out anymore. Now it felt understood, and that was far more important. After some time, the walkway grew quieter as visitors moved on. Evan's parents checked the time, and Scifi approached them again. If you are ready, the caretaker said kindly. The interaction enclosure is prepared. Evan gasped and looked down at Kiri through the barrier. Kiri, we can play without the glass today. Kiri chirped a note full of excitement and anticipation. Scifi guided the family toward a safe hallway. Evan looked back at the hatchling every few steps, waving eagerly. Kiri followed from the other side of the dome, hurrying to the area where the special door stood. Inside the interaction enclosure, the lighting was soft and gentle. The space was small and simple, with soft floor mats and a curved barrier gate for the hatchling to enter. Evan sat down cross-legged in the center, holding his glowing toy close to his chest. He felt excited but also nervous in a good way. Meeting Kiri face-to-face felt like opening a wonderful new chapter. Outside, Kiri waited patiently as caretakers checked safety guidelines. The hatchling could barely stand still, its wings twitching with excitement. The caretakers smiled, touched by the little creature's eagerness. Finally, Scifi pressed a small button. The curved gate slid open silently. Kiri stepped inside. The little hatchling's eyes widened as it spotted Evan sitting just a few steps away. There was no glass now, nothing between them. Evan smiled softly. Hi, Kiri. It's me. Kiri chirped a warm, soft greeting and walked closer, careful and slow. Evan placed the glowing toy on the ground between them and tapped it gently. The toy lit up. Kiri tapped it next. The toy glowed brighter. And then, for the first time ever, they played a rhythm game without any barrier at all. Caretakers watched quietly from behind the safety glass of the enclosure. Evan's parents stood nearby, their hearts full. Every beat, every gentle movement, every quiet chirp painted a picture of trust, kindness, and connection. Humans were known across the galaxy for many things: courage, curiosity, creativity, but moments like this reminded everyone of something even more powerful. Humans had an endless ability to make others feel seen, understood, and important. Kiri and Evan played on, their simple rhythms filling the room with the brightness of a friendship that was only just beginning. The morning sunlight filtered gently through the glass gardens, casting soft colors across the crystal domes. The world seemed to sparkle, and inside the sterile hatchling dome, something extraordinary was about to happen. Kiri woke early, wings stretching, eyes bright with excitement. Today felt different, not only because the light was golden, or because the dome smelled fresh with dew, but because today, Kiri knew today, Evan would come again. The little hatchling ran to the usual spot by the clear wall, tail flicking in anticipation. Kiri chirped softly, a happy, impatient sound, as if calling out, "Hurry! Come quickly!" From above, footsteps echoed across the observation deck. Kiri's ears perked up immediately. The sound was familiar. The rhythm of tiny sneakers against the metal walkway. Evan appeared, waving energetically. His small hands were full of toys, drawings, and even a notebook. "Good morning, Kiri," he called, smiling brightly. Kiri chirped and ran forward, pressing its claw against the clear wall. Evan tapped back a cheerful rhythm, and the little hatchling copied it perfectly, adding a soft flourish at the end. The other visitors paused to watch. Caretakers smiled from behind their stations, noting how the quiet connection between a human and a sorrel hatchling could capture the attention of everyone nearby. Evan leaned closer to the barrier. "I brought some new games for us today," he whispered, eyes sparkling. Kiri chirped in excitement, tilting its head. For the first time, the little hatchling felt as if the world had grown bigger and brighter, but also safer and warmer. Scifi, the sorrel caretaker, approached with a gentle nod. "Today," they said softly, "we can try something new. The small interaction enclosure is ready. With your parents' permission, you may enter and play with Kiri." Evan's parents smiled warmly. "We trust you," his father said. "You and Kiri will be careful." Evan's heart raced. "Thank you," he whispered. He waved at Kiri through the glass before following Scifi toward the special room. Inside the interaction enclosure, the space was soft and welcoming. Curved walls, smooth mats, gentle lighting. It was designed for calm, focused play. Evan set his glowing toy on the floor, tapping it lightly. The soft light pulsed gently. Kiri entered carefully, wings slightly lifted, eyes shining with curiosity. The little hatchling's feet barely made a sound on the mats as it approached Evan. They were no longer separated by glass or distance. Evan knelt down slowly. "Hi, Kiri," he said softly. "I'm so glad you're here." Kiri chirped in response, placing a claw lightly on Evan's hand. The human boy's smile widened. Their connection felt immediate and natural. Evan tapped the glowing toy, creating a rhythm. Kiri watched carefully, then tapped it back. The toy pulsed brighter with each correct match, sending warm light across the enclosure. They experimented with shapes, tapping patterns, and gentle movements. Evan traced a circle in the air, and Kiri mirrored it with its claw. Then Evan made a triangle. Kiri followed. Each gesture strengthened their communication. Caretakers observed silently from behind the enclosure's safety glass. "This is remarkable," Scifi whispered. "The hatchling's confidence has grown immensely. It trusts the human completely." Evan noticed the other hatchlings peeking through the walls of their habitat. They watched Kiri intently, curious about what made their friend so happy. But Kiri didn't run back to the group. Kiri stayed close to Evan, chirping softly, playing their quiet, inventive games. After some time, Evan began inventing new games. He rolled a small ball that glowed when tapped, encouraging Kiri to tap it in specific sequences. Kiri learned quickly, tapping in time with the light, chirping happily when successful. Visitors passing the dome outside paused to watch the glowing enclosure. Children pointed excitedly. Adults whispered admiration. Even other sorrel hatchlings seemed to pause their fast games, watching the gentle rhythm of play between human and hatchling. Evan pulled out a notebook and showed Kiri simple drawings. He had made stars, spirals, small shapes. Kiri pressed its claws on each drawing in the soil, copying the lines as accurately as possible. Evan clapped softly in delight. "You're incredible, Kiri," he said warmly. "I didn't know you could draw so well." Kiri chirped proudly and gave a small leap into the air, wings flaring lightly. The motion was graceful and full of confidence. The little hatchling had never felt so strong, so capable, so important. Scifi observed the moment and smiled. "This is what we hoped for," they said softly to the other caretakers. "The human child has helped Kiri discover abilities we did not think the hatchling possessed." The morning turned into afternoon. Evan and Kiri played quietly, inventing new games each moment. They tapped, rolled glowing toys, traced shapes, and created rhythms together. Every success was met with laughter and gentle chirps. Kiri no longer felt lonely. For the first time, the hatchling understood what it meant to have a true friend. Someone who cared, who waited patiently, and who saw the little things that mattered most. Evan's parents watched with quiet pride. Their son was not only kind, but he had the patience and heart to build a bridge between worlds. At one point, Evan made a new rhythm pattern and held it up as a challenge. Kiri tilted its head, focused, then repeated the pattern perfectly. Evan clapped with joy. "You're the best partner ever," Evan whispered. Kiri chirped, spinning in excitement. Its feathers shimmered in the soft light of the enclosure, reflecting golds and blues in a dazzling pattern. The little hatchling looked around and realized this was not just play. This was a friendship, an adventure, and a discovery all in one. Even the other hatchlings seemed inspired. They tapped in the soil curiously, watching their friend with interest. Kiri did not turn away. Instead, Kiri chirped to them, as if saying, "You can join, but this is my special moment too." Time passed quickly. Visitors and caretakers were amazed at how seamlessly Humyn and Sorel could communicate through rhythm, shapes, and gentle touch. As the sun began to lower, casting warm orange light across the dome, Evan leaned back on the soft mats. "Kiri," he said softly, "I wish I could stay here forever." Kiri chirped and gently placed a claw on Evan's hand. The little hatchling's eyes shone with warmth. Scifi stepped forward carefully. "It's almost time to return," they said gently. "But this day has been wonderful for both of you." Evan nodded reluctantly. "I'll come again tomorrow," he promised. Kiri chirped, matching the same rhythm Evan had tapped earlier in the morning. It was as if the little hatchling was saying, "I'll wait. I'll be ready." The caretakers guided Kiri back to its habitat. Evan's parents followed, making sure their son felt calm and happy. Even as the barrier returned, the bond between child and hatchling remained strong. Once inside the habitat, Kiri paused at the usual crystal pool, tapping the soft soil with its claws. The rhythm was the same one it had shared with Evan throughout the day, a memory, a song, a promise of friendship. The other hatchlings came closer this time, curious but gentle. They did not crowd Kiri, who chirped softly and waved a small wing. Today, Kiri had discovered something extraordinary. Even if the world seemed vast, and others seemed distant, connection was possible. The Sorel elders gathered near the dome quietly, whispering to one another. "The human child has brought a light to Kiri's life," one said. "Not just light," another added. "Hope, confidence, joy." "Yes," said the first. "Perhaps this is what humans are truly known for, their ability to make others feel seen, valued, and understood." As night approached, the glass gardens quieted, lights dimmed, and the soft hum of the domes filled the air. Kiri curled near the crystal pool, wings folded, heart full. The little hatchling tapped one final rhythm before closing its eyes. Tap, 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 a rhythm that carried the memory of a small human boy with bright eyes, kind hands, and a caring heart. For Kiri, the world would never feel lonely again. There would always be games, laughter, rhythms, and friendship. And for Evan, every visit was a chance to bring joy to a creature who had no one to play with until he arrived. In that quiet dome, under the twinkling lights of the glass gardens, a simple truth shone brightly. Even across worlds, even through differences, kindness and curiosity could build bridges stronger than glass, deeper than distance, and brighter than the stars themselves. And with that, Kiri and Evan's friendship promised many more days of shared joy, new discoveries, and games across barriers always together, never alone again.